What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining us for this special mini-series of the podcast where we're checking in with business owners to see how they're handling our new reality. Today, I'm joined by Reuland of Reuland's Food Service, located right here in Aurora, Illinois, just a few blocks from my house. The Reuland family and their team have been serving the Aurora area and surrounding suburbs since 1955. And they've played a critical role in feeding our frontline during this pandemic. Thank you so much for being here, Ryan.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you taking the time. I know that you guys are crazy busy right now feeding the front line. So did you want to just take a moment to explain what that initiative is?
Sure. So I guess it was, I keep saying it was inspiration out of desperation. We had tried, so this has been about 2.5 weeks that we've been doing that. We did about a week or so of the curb service, and it just, I saw the writing on the wall that it wasn't going to be enough to sustain us because, for the last 65 years, the majority of our business is large event catering. So probably 80% of the overall business has been about event catering. And, when the CDC made the recommendation of not more than 10 people, that overnight went away. And we tried to do the curb service for a little bit, and then it just wasn't going to cut it. So I just went into survival mode and started thinking about ways that we could, boost some sales. And then, ultimately came up with the idea of feeding the front line, which I didn't start the idea of feeding the front line, obviously, but I started looking in other parts of the country that might have been, greatly affected already, maybe more so than we had been. Right. So I saw there was a place in Boston that came up with this idea, and it really is nothing more than an idea. It's not an organization. It's, if you went to feedingthefrontline.com, it's a landing page that just says, here's the format. You have a community, reach out to them, find people in need, and then reach out to your customer base and also to the community, and encourage them to help you sponsor meals for the frontline workers. So that's, I tossed it around. My wife actually found the Feeding the Front Line when I reached out to her and said, hey, can you help me kind of develop something here? And I have a group of guys that we used to work out at the Vaughn Center when it was still open. And I kind of bounced the idea off of them and went through it, and then came up with, I'm going to partner with this Feeding the Front Line because it's not an organization. It's nothing more than an idea, kind of a grassroots movement, community movement to help us stay in business, keep the doors open, and also be able to help the frontline workers at the same time. And that's essentially what I decided to do. Was we have always done boxed lunches, reduce the price of our standard boxed lunch so it was affordable. Really, it's at cost, the cost to produce it plus, to pay my staff. So we went with that. We're going to just make this affordable, streamline it, and get it out there. So that's what we did. Reach out to the community. Actually, that same group of guys that I work out with, we had a pop-up workout somewhere. Nice. And as I was leaving, I had my first about 400 box lunches sponsored. So they really helped shore things up quite a bit. So that was, that's great and supportive. And then it's just kind of been a windfall. As of today, we have received sponsorships for over 5,000 box lunches.
Oh my gosh.
We've already delivered almost 4,000 of those. So it's been a great thing. And the residual effect to that is we've also seen, an increase in our curbside dinners that we're doing. Mm-hmm. We had probably the best Easter sales that we've ever had. So that was, people are supporting us for supporting the community. So it's been phenomenal.
Yeah, that's truly incredible, and kudos to you and your wife for getting on board with that idea. And then I think the hardest part about having an idea is figuring out how to execute it, especially on a scale like this and a community like this during times like this. So you guys have done a great job. And I know that the city of Aurora thanks you and for feeding all of the Frontline. I mean, that's an incredible job right now. So how can people sponsor feeding the Frontline? How can people in Aurora get involved or elsewhere?
Sure. So being that it's a grassroots movement, we've never been super sophisticated in how we do it. So it's just call in, because we also like to talk to the people that call in and say, hey, is there a particular place that you see a need that you want us to, you want us to make lunches to? And, the majority of people wanted to go to, Amita Mercy Center, Rush Copley Hospital. We've been to Mutual Ground, Aurora Interfaith Food Pantry, I think it's Visiti, used to be Heartland Blood Centers. I had one person want to have lunches delivered to the Walgreens on Constitution because they're there and they've been very, helpful to him and his family. So that's really, they really have just responded so well. And
that's amazing. So in addition to, I know we did a longer intro than usual for these. No, that's great. So I think you kind of answered the questions already, but I'll just give you a chance if you want to elaborate. Sure. So what's the biggest shift you've had to make in your role right now?
Well, it's the shift in general is just what we were doing. And this is actually more like what we do on a day-to-day basis. So we had shifted to doing this, curb service. And then we went to being open for dinner because we just weren't capturing much at lunch, which is never anything that we had ever done. And that was, completely new to us, that whole experience. And then shifting to doing the feeding the Frontline, that's something we have a harder time scaling down than we do scaling up, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah. You guys are used to doing large catering events, right?
Yeah. We do all sorts of things, but we certainly, over the 65 years of being in business, have figured out how to do the larger scale things. And that actually comes more naturally to how we're set up. We carry an inventory where if somebody were to call up and say, hey, we need to feed 200 people tonight. And, that's something that during the normal course of business we could do. We've had to scale back, to way that we, as far as the shift goes, we had changed and we were really taking a closer look at our inventory because we didn't know what tomorrow was going to bring. So we kind of slimmed things down and then ended up, getting on a bigger scale the things that we were going to need to produce these box lunches, because we want to get them out there, as soon as possible, and, help the people out. Right. So it's the biggest thing that we've had to do to shift and change for me is we've also, we typically carry about between 14 and 16 staff. In the summer, it's much larger. There's 6 of those 14 to 16 staff that we felt, and this was basically as of St. Patrick's Day, we decided, they're kind of in the riskier category of people that, if they were to get sick, it would be detrimental. So we said, hey, you guys go home, stay there. We're going to keep trucking along, try to take care of paying everybody. So we're doing, it has been a little bit different, with this change. Everybody is doing things that they might not normally do because we're down 6 staff members that are typically here. So it's, my day, typically I was more like doing the book work and, that type of thing, and marketing and those types of jobs. But now it's like I come in and I'm slicing meat and cheese for this, and then making sandwiches, and then delivering the box lunches to the hospitals. So that's, really for me, it's just spreading out the actual jobs, and that's consistent with everybody else that's still here.
Yeah, I think that's having all hands on deck right now is is something that a lot of businesses are going through as they streamline staff, and then you're having to adapt to these situations. How is the community responding? So we've talked about the volume at which they're supplying these lunch boxes. Is there anything else that you want to touch on?
You know, yes. I mean, it's what keeps us going. And, you know, my sister Bridget and I are here every day. We're co-owners, and my dad still has ownership in the business, but he's in that risky category. So he's been home. I haven't seen him in over a month now. So
it's tough to not see the parents.
And it's always been this way. We kind of, what motivates us on a daily basis is the feedback we get from our customers, and people have just been so supportive, and we get, you know, random calls and emails and people dropping off letters thanking us for what we're doing. And, you know, to be totally honest, that is what means more than anything else, because that keeps us, you know, we're going to get up today. We're going to do this again. You know, my sister and I both have pretty much worked every day since St. Patrick's, right before St. Patrick's Day, just because we need to be, you know, present, and we're down, you know, like I had mentioned about the staff, and the positive feedback from the community is what keeps us going every day.
Wow. That's amazing. And I think that's a good message too, for anyone out there who thought they were thinking about sending a thank you or reaching out to someone. Do that. I think now is the time more than ever to support your community and to say thanks to those that you care about. So let's shift gears a little bit, and let's talk about the fact that you haven't had a day off in a month. How are you taking care of yourself right now?
You know, I think naturally, like, I mentioned that these guys that I work out with, they're kind of my support group also. It's, we still try to maintain some social distancing and, you know, run and just keep exercise. I think it's super important.
Yep.
You know, it's not about me. It's about, you know, providing for the frontline workers and providing for our employees, making sure that they have a job and that they feel comfortable and secure. And I really think, you know, with the Feeding the Frontline, we were kind of there. I can remember we were sitting there when Pritzker came on. I don't even remember. This might have been the Friday after St. Patrick's Day. Yeah. And he was talking about essential workers. I thought, you know, for sure that it was going to be done. We were going to close the doors. But then he threw in there that you can still get takeout from your favorite restaurant. So he designated us as essential workers. And I didn't look at myself or what we do as essential as, you know, the hospital staff and the nurses and doctors and the other first responders. And this has, you know, made everybody, all of our staff and myself, you know, certainly, and my family, made everybody feel more like we're essential. So it's, you know, I don't know how that really is how I'm taking care of myself, but that's really what it amounts to is, you know, I wanted to have a purpose. So by providing a purpose,
right,
I'm taking care of myself.
Yeah. That's a great example of doing that. And you are still getting your workouts in and getting outside and
trying to
on your community. But I think it's important to note, you know, that you may not have thought you guys were essential in the beginning, and you as a business owner and your sister and your wife as well and everyone there have made yourselves essential during this time, because you could have just as easily closed up shop and said, let's just ride it out for the next few months and see where we are, which I know I've seen some businesses do. And in some cases, it's just not sustainable for them to stay open, which is totally understandable. But you guys have pivoted in a way that is benefiting the entire community. So I commend you for that. That's really awesome.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Lastly, how can we support you and the businesses in Aurora right now? What do you need from the community to keep this going?
You know, the best thing that you can do, and as much as I would encourage, you know, the community to order the curb service from us, I'm more focused on our Feeding the Frontline, and they can support us by just calling in and sponsoring lunches for the frontline workers. And, you know, the other businesses in Aurora, I've tried to keep tabs on how everybody's doing, you know, support them. order food whenever you can. I know a lot of the businesses, when the mayor said you could do the takeout liquor, that's probably a big thing for the places that are more dependent on liquor sales, which that was never really. I mean, we actually do have a liquor license, and we do it for catering, and we have the same type of liquor license that a restaurant would have. We have at our facility, but we just never were very focused on that. So, my wife and I, which, by the way, she is actually an administrator with District 129. She doesn't work in the family business, so she's just the brains.
She helps you. She's your moral support, at least.
She is. But just by supporting those businesses, and her and I tried to order curb service from other restaurants. We were a big fan of going to the Turf Room. For date night, and they open back up. So we've been known to get a couple of their cocktails to go. So.
Wait, they're doing cocktails to go?
They are.
My God, this is a game changer. Okay. Yes. Wow, I didn't know that.
So they have like their martinis that they have always done. You can get them. They do it, they give you a little airplane bottle and a jug of whatever the magic mix is. So, and there's other businesses, that the local businesses, Spartan House and AC's Pub and all of those guys I see doing similar types of things. Support them, get a couple of cocktails to take home, because that's, they're really, I feel bad because they're really missing out on that part of the business.
Yeah.
Which is probably a much larger percentage than the actual food portion. So I just encourage everyone to not let it kind of dwindle. Hopefully at some point we'll be kind of over the hump of everything, and people are going to start focusing on getting back to their normal life. And unfortunately, I feel like, our industry, the restaurant, the food, the hospitality of all sorts is going to feel an impact of this for a long time going forward, because we don't typically operate on huge margins and have, lots of built up safety net income. It's kind of a day-to-day thing. So it's going to take a while. So just encourage people to continue to support all of the local businesses. So we, I've always felt like new thing, especially in downtown Aurora, has done such a magnificent job over the last several years of bringing people in. New places were opening up. I know El Tiro, the first week they were open, my wife and I went down there for our date night and tried to support them. And it's just got to be so hard that right after you try to make a go of it, and then things kind of, what happened.
Yeah, so exactly. I think it's important to, as restaurants and businesses, to not lose hope, and then to everyone that can, to continue to support, because I think I share the same fear that it's, as this goes on, that support may dwindle a little bit. Maybe the initial support will die off, and it sounds like it's not so far for you guys, at least. So I hope that we can continue that strength and that support for the community, if you can provide it. So thank you so much for being here. This is awesome. And I learned something new today. The Turf Room does to-go martinis right now, because I am a big fan of those too. So that's awesome. And thank you to you and your team and your family for all that you guys are doing, and all of the meals and you're providing to the community.
Well, thanks for having me.